TechNet Saturday at 7 p.m. W5FC. This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Can we go 5, Delta Bravo Alpha, testing. Can we go 5? Okay. Golf 5, Delta Bravo Alpha, testing.
When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet. This is KF5TDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? The directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, Was Up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. Amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So this time I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll do the check-in honors, please.
I will do exactly that. Thank you, Miss Billy, for doing the net this evening. This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom. I'll be alternate net control this evening. I'll take low-power short-time check-ins. If you are one of those, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're low-power short-time.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India WB4 MFI Ted Dallas low power long time.
This is Kilo India 5 Kilo Tango Zulu Philip White Rock Creek, low power 5 watts.
Okay, on this TZ, that's Philip and White Rock Creek at 5 watts. Anyone else low power short time, please come now. All right, do either of you have anything you want to bring to the net, please come with your call.
Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you, Ted. I'll now take general check-ins. Please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. General check-ins.
This is November 5, Golf Hotel Oscar Lance in Louisville.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill in Irving.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Jazz, Mesquite.
Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson. Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill Farmers Branch.
All right, we'll go ahead and start with those. I got N5GHO, that's Lance in Louisville. N5BB, Bill in Irving. KF5JHA, Mr. Chaz in Mesquite. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda in Louisville. Why, you didn't hear her call? Well, she's right here, and she kept telling me her call sign over and over again, so I finally wrote it down. AA5AH, Robert Richardson. KF5ZBL, Bill and Farmers Branch, and I just got hit. Anyone else like to check in? Please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5.
Okay, I got a Kilo Fox 5 and nothing else. Please come back with your full call, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
Yes, sorry about that. This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Whiskey Lima Foxtrot. This is Steve in Duncanville.
All right, I picked up KF5WLF. That's Keith in Duncanville. Welcome, Keith. Go over to Echolink on this round. Anybody on Echolink would like to join us? A couple there that might want to, well, one for sure. Let's see. I'll go ahead and take check-ins from Echolink. Please come in.
Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford.
And we picked up KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. Okay, I'll open it up. Anybody, anywhere, any place, please come with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo 5 Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
Okay, we picked up another. We got K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Quinlan. Well, we're running a little slow tonight, but it is actually Christmas, so I guess that's okay. I'm sure it will pick up in a little bit. All right, I'll send it back to net control. We got 13 checked in so far. This is KE5ICX.
Copy that. Thanks, Tom, and welcome everyone who has checked into Skynet, and I hope everyone's having a very merry. Let's get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. So if you have an announcement, please come now with your call sign. Hearing any announcements, so I'll go ahead with some of my own. The Embassad Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and Embassad. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. The Dallas Amsat Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9. COM N5HYP is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so there's Amsat East on that night. The Dallas Amsat Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.40 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. DARC hosts several Monday night nets. First Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's Net. So if you have a recipe or question about food or anecdote about food, join us for Ham Fixin's Net. For the second Monday of the month, join us for MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. The third Monday, come back for a second helping of Ham Fixin's Net. And fourth Monday is GeekNet. And if there's ever a fifth Monday, it's a surprise net. If we told you what it is, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Tuesdays is Amsat Net East at 8 p.m. Question and answer, info, and news for amateur satellites. Fridays is Search City simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually the net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday at Search City. All are welcome. And Saturdays is the Night of Nets, with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. and, of course, at 9 p.m., Skynet. And following Skynet at 10:30 is the Afterglow Movie Net, where we pick a movie during the week, and then we come back the next Saturday and discuss the movie. You'll have more information on that in just a and then first and third Sundays is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. There is the ARRL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And all are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. By 9:30, Skynet is the Afterglow Movie Net. This time I'll turn the net over to Tom, KF5CX, if you'll give us tonight's Afterglow info from KF5 CDS.
Thank you, Miss Billy. Tonight's Afterglow info is as follows. Captain Ramius was an odd commander, and he knew the Soviet submariner force was indeed a stoic one. The crew knew that on any given Sunday, or any other day of the week, they could sink to the bottom of some ocean. Ramius, however, must have hit his head on the bulkhead of his brand-new Typhoon-class ballistic missile submarine because he was prone to spurts of weird outbursts. 1 minute, he was shouting, "Shaken, not stirred." Another minute, he yelled, "Welcome to the Rock." And in one case, he exclaimed, "I dated your mother, you moron!" All with a decidedly non-Russian accent. It was all so strange to hear, but he was the captain, and if he wanted to relive old Sean Connery movies, well, that was his business. Join us for a nice break from terrible science fiction and head for an improbable, though very exciting future, The Hunt for Red October from 1989. And we'll see if we can get a quorum. I think we will. I'm pretty sure this will be a fun movie. That will be at 10:30 tonight. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you very much, Tom. All right, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So if there's anyone on frequency that would like to give information, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, please come now with your call sign.
KF5JHA.
5JHA, Chaz, good evening, Merry Christmas. Information can you get about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas?
Yes, Merry Christmas to everyone. Hey, we don't get to do this about once every 7 years on average, having Skynet on Christmas. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, January the 28th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. The meeting will be held on Zoom. Dr. Noah Pearson from Montana State University will be the featured speaker and will be speaking about gravity waves. Task Club members will receive an email link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions were placed on hold because of COVID, and one of the reasons why Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night was because there was an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions that are also held on Saturday nights. But again, that's been put on hold. If you want to get up-to-date information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, then go to their website, texasastro.org, and that tells you about the meetings and public observing sessions, even how to buy a telescope, and much more. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control, KF5PDS. Hey, wait, I'm supposed to talk about some sort of movie that we should have had tonight. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Tom, we need to have that on the next time we have Skynet on Christmas Day, or maybe Christmas Eve.
Great, thank you, Chaz. Yeah, it would have been fun to have Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. I think we've done that before. I don't know that we've done that, especially not for Christmas, so it's interesting. I watched the MST3K version. Fun to watch. All right, next up is National Space Society events and activities. So this time I'll turn the net over to Bill at DB. What information do you have for us for the National Space Society from K5PDS?
Very good, Billy. This is N5BB. By the way, you're occasionally breaking up a little bit, but I can understand everything you're saying, but you're occasionally breaking up a little bit. I am the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. If you're interested in joining or you have any questions, send me an email, space@byrom.net. That's space@byrom.net, or n5bb@arrl.net. That's November 5 Bravo Bravo @arrl.net, are my email addresses. The National Space Society North Texas chapter normally meets in Irving at a restaurant on the second Sunday of a month. We currently have been holding meetings. Most of our meetings have been on WebEx. I am not sure what we're going to do on our January meeting, which will be the second Sunday afternoon of January, January the 9th, starting at 3:30 p.m. I also do not know yet what the meeting topic will be. Right now, because of the pandemic, we don't have any current plans for events in January. Of course, the big space news was this morning when the James Webb Space Telescope was launched, and I got up early and listened to watch the launch and everything. Everything looks like it's working fine so far, and in 29 days, it should reach the Lagrange point L2, where it will set up, and it'll take up to 6 months before they have it calibrated and first regular images. But that's the big, exciting news from space here this week. That's all I got in 5BB.
Thanks very much, Bill. The National Space Society of North Texas also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas in the search box and request access, and you'll receive meeting reminders and club activities. This is KF5TDS, Billy, your net control for this session of ARC Skynet. All right, next up is discussion topic of the evening. So for tonight's talk, I've chosen earthsky.org article posted by Bruce McClure, entitled "The Star Sirius Rings in the New Year." You want to entertain your friends on New Year's Eve? Give them a quick tour of the heavens and show them Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. It has the nickname the Dog Star because it's part of the constellation Canis Major, the Greater Dog. Sirius might also be called the New Year's Star. It'll ring in 2022 by reaching its highest point in the sky around the stroke of midnight. And that's true for every New Year's Eve. How can you find Sirius? Well, for starters, it's the brightest star in Earth's night sky. Its name means sparkling or scorching. The only points of light that can shine brighter than Sirius are some of the planets. If you're scanning the dark sky and aren't sure which point of light is Sirius, here's a surefire way to know. Look for the prominent belt stars of the constellation Orion. Orion's belt always points to Sirius. Sirius is highest in the sky at midnight every New Year's. Astronomers call this a midnight culmination of Sirius. As the New Year rings in, Sirius is at its highest. By midnight, by the way, we mean the middle of the night, that is, midway between sunset and sunrise. Like the sun, the stars rise in the east and travel westward across the sky. When the sun or any star is in the eastern half of the sky, it's climbing upward. When the sun or any star is in the western sky, it's descending downward. Midway between rising and setting, the sun or any star reaches its highest point in the sky. Because the stars rise and set 2 hours earlier with each passing month, Sirius will be highest up for the night around 10 p.m. local time on February 1st. Bottom line, look for the star Sirius at midnight culmination, highest in the sky around midnight or midway between sunset and sunrise every New Year's Eve. Next up is Buzz Up. So I'm going to hand the net over briefly to Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do a check-in round, and I didn't know if you included KF5TLL over on Echolink. Huey wanted to be noted for the count. He mentioned it in the chat window. I wanted to make sure that you got his call sign in the count. And then if you'll do a quick check-in round, and then give you permission to hand the net over directly to Chaz for KF5JHA after you do a check-in round. So this is to KE5ICX from KF5TDS.
All right, very good. Yeah, I'll put Huey in. I must have missed it in the chat. KF5PLL. Huey, he's number 14. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okie dokie. Well, let's go over to Chaz, KF5JHA, and tell us what's up.
Tom, maybe I can check in Bob. He does call. It sounds like a meow, but I don't think it's an official call sign by the FCC. Oh, yeah. Oh, Slide Master. That would be Tom. Slide Master, slide number 1, please. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics, and I'm in charge of the Astrophysics Lab and Geology Lab at the Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. We call this segment of Skynet Was Up. Slide number 2, please. Billy, I need to talk about something that I don't have a slide for, but I'll talk about it right now. Around midnight on Christmas Eve and Christmas evening, the constellation, or I should say the asterism of the Northern Cross, which is part of Cygnus, the Swan, stands upright on the northwestern horizon. I thought that was a neat kind of trivia question, or answer, or data. Okay, slide number 2. On December the 18th, the moon was full, so the current phase of the moon is a waning gibbous. Tomorrow, on December the 26th, the moon is at its third quarter phase. January the 1st, 2022, the moon is at perigee, which is the point on the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 358,033 kilometers. On January the 2nd, the moon is new. On January the 9th, the moon is at its first quarter phase. On January 13th, the moon is at its apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 405,805 kilometers. Slide number 3, please. Oh, what you didn't hear was a couple of sneezes. Okay. On December the 29th, west-southwestern evening sky, you can find Venus and Mercury in conjunction low in the sky around 6 p.m. Even through clouds tonight, I was able to see Venus and Jupiter. Couldn't see Saturn, though. It's dim enough where the clouds obscured it. Slide number 4, please. On December the 31st, in the east-southeastern morning sky, you can find the Moon, Mars, and Antares in conjunction low in the sky around 6 a.m. Slide number 5, please. On the night of January 3rd and 4th, a quadrantid meteor shower peaks with a maximum of up to 120 meteors per hour of observing in a dark, clear sky far away from the city lights. I always suggest that you visit a Texas State Park. We have 80 parks and wildlife refuges in the state of Texas, and hopefully soon we'll be able to go to the newest one, Palo Pinto Mountain State Park, because there's actually construction happening in that one. And we've done several observing sessions there in the past. Slide number 6, please. On January the 4th, 2022, at 12:55 a.m. Central Standard Time, the Earth will be at its perihelion. This is the point in the Earth's orbit where the Earth is closest to the Sun. The Earth being closer or further away from the Sun does not determine the seasons, but rather the tilt of the Earth's axis of rotation. When the Earth's northern hemisphere is more pointed toward the Sun, then it is when it is the summertime. And when the northern hemisphere is pointed more away from the Sun, that is when it is wintertime in the northern hemisphere. Hope that clears things up. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. On January 4th, 2022, in the southwestern evening sky, you can find the Moon and Saturn in conjunction in the western sky just shortly after sunset. Slide number 8. On the next evening, January the 5th, in the low southwestern evening sky, you can observe the Moon and Jupiter in conjunction. And about a week later, slide number 9, on January the 13th, the two planets, Mercury and Saturn, will just be a few degrees apart in their conjunction in the west-southwestern evening sky just after sunset. You'll need to look in strong twilight and have a very clear low horizon to be able to see both of them. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 10. Again, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas next club meeting will be January the 28th at 7:30 p.m. It'll be held on Zoom. Dr. Noah Pearson from Montana State University will be the featured speaker. If you want to get information about that, and also observing sessions, which I hope will start up again soon, but with the next wave number 4 of COVID, I don't know. But if you want to find information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, go to their website, texasastro.org. Slide number 11, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information I've just given? Or do you have just a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question, or someone else here on the air might know the answer to your question. So come now with your call sign if you have a question. Well, Huey, to give you an answer, a question you've got over on Echolink, I do have an Android, and I do use it to connect to Echolink sometimes, but right now I'm on my computer with my Echolink, so I'm not sure if I can help you out, but if you have a question about that, let me know. Slide number 12, please. So as the moon wanes at the end of December, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next week, actually I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA, back to our net control, the wonderful Dr. Billy, KF5PDS.
Thank you very much, Chaz. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Next up is space exploration and space history. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Brenda, WB5OZL. The net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB5OZL. Okay, well, Santa came early to the ISS, arriving in a SpaceX cargo vehicle, don't argue, on Wednesday, bearing holiday treats and science experiments. It's up to each crew to decide how to celebrate holidays. They must plan way ahead, often buying presents a year in advance. This year, one of them gave the others harmonicas with the intent of forming a harmonica band. They play Christmas movies and music as they gather around the digital fireplace. Next, the X-59, the experimental X-59 Quiet Supersonic Technology Aircraft, or QUESST, which Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works is building for NASA, is now on its way to the company's plant in Fort Worth, Texas. Once there, the jet, which is being designed to explore sonic boom mitigating technologies that could have significant impacts on the future of supersonic flight, will undergo structural testing ahead of a planned first flight next year. NASA's official timeline says the X-59's first flight is expected sometime next year. This is an artist rendering, it's not an actual photograph. Lockheed Martin could not immediately provide an update on exactly when the plane might take to the air for the first time. The initial flight testing, which will demonstrate things like the basic airworthiness of the aircraft, is expected to take 9 months and run into 2023. After that, NASA's Armstrong Flight Research Center, which is situated within Edwards Air Force Base in California, will formally take delivery of the plane and then move on to its own initial test phase to hopefully demonstrate the design's quiet supersonic capabilities. Next up, the JWST, which I'm sure you've all watched the launch sometime today. I got up early and watched it live, which was very exciting. But just one little thing I want to say about it. It's fueled by hydrazine plus dinitrogen tetroxide oxidizer, which improves fuel efficiency when burnt. Unfortunately, the fuel will only last 5 to 10 years, and there's currently no plan to send up a refueling ship, but such ideas are being tossed around anyway. Birthdays. Michael P. Anderson, December 25th, 1959, flew on STS 89 and 107, and of course he died in the Columbia tragedy, the STS 107. Carol J. Bobko, December 23rd, 1937, STS 6, 51D, and 51J. Millie Hughes Fulford, December 21st, 1945, STS 40. Michael E. Fossum, December 19th, 1957, STS 121, STS 124, and Soyuz TMA 02M Expedition 2829. Frederick W. Leslie, December 19th, 1951, STS 73. John L. Finley, December 22nd, 1955. That was with the 1965 USAF MOL Group 1. Lawrence R. Young, December 19th, 1935, backup payload specialist for STS 58. And special mention, today, December 25th, 1642, Isaac Newton was born. This week in space history. On December 22nd, 1966, the HL-10 lifting body took its first flight. The HL-10 was a heavy-lifting horizontal landing plane built by the Northrop Corporation. The HL in the name stands for heavy lifting, and the 10 indicates that this was the 10th design in the series. The $1.8 million aircraft was delivered to NASA's Langley Research Center in Virginia in January of 1966. Next, the voices of Apollo 8. Apollo 8, December 21 through 27, 1968, was the first crewed spacecraft to leave low Earth orbit and also the first human spaceflight to reach another astronomical object, namely the Moon, which the crew orbited without landing and then departed safely back to Earth. The 3 astronauts, Frank Borman, James Lovell, and William Anders, were the first humans to witness and photograph an Earthrise. Apollo 8 launched on December 21st, 1968, and was the second crewed spaceflight mission flown in the United States with the Apollo space program after Apollo 7, which stayed in Earth orbit. Apollo 8 was the third flight and the first crewed launch of the Saturn V rocket, and was the first human spaceflight from the Kennedy Space Center, located adjacent to Cape Kennedy Air Force Station in Florida. Borman declared the Moon a vast, lonely, forbidding expanse of nothing. Sounds pretty bleak. The 3 took turns reading from the Book of Genesis and wished the people of Earth a Merry Christmas. Madeline Murray O'Hare later sued NASA over the religious nature of their broadcast. She lost when the Supreme Court declared it had no jurisdiction in outer space. Interestingly, Lovell was able to confirm the existence of Santa Claus, so that settles it. Later, Borman received a telegram from a stranger that said, "Thank you, Apollo 8, you saved 1968. And I couldn't agree more. If you were alive that year, you know what I'm talking about. Spacecraft is now on display at the Chicago Museum of Science and Industry, but one of the best things to come out of the flight was the iconic photo of Earthrise taken by Bill Anders. That's all I got. WB5OZL, back to net.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Lots going on. All right, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is up next. So at this time, I will return the net to Chaz, KF5JHA, from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is, again, Chaz, KF5JHA. I want to discuss something that went on over a couple of emails. Tom had said something that he thought tonight Skynet would be light, but I'm looking outside right now, and it looks pretty dark out here. In fact, I've listed when the sun set was and when civil twilight was and nautical twilight and astronomical twilight, and that's all a long time ago. So it's pretty dark outside, so I don't know why Tom was saying it was going to be light for Skynet tonight. Oh, Slide Master, that would be Tom. Slide number 13, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week from almost its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look of one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen from Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is actually a twofer: Aries the Ram and Triangulum the Triangle. Okay, in mythology, Aries represents the ram, which is the source of the Golden Fleece. The Golden Fleece is a central part of the story of Jason and the Argonauts. If you don't know that story, I'll let you look it up. I'm not going to go through that. Slide Master, slide number 14. You know, I'm pretty sure this is the reason why a lot of you are on Skynet is because of the jokes of the week. So, anyway, I couldn't figure out why a male sheep is called a ram. And then it hit me. Why did the ram run off the cliff? Why did the ram run off the cliff? He didn't see the U-turn. That would be E-W-E turn. If you don't get it, I'll have to explain it to you later. What do you call it when a shepherd can't find his ram? Well, that would be memory loss. Get it, a computer RAM. Okay. Oh, now we have to do triangle ones. A triangle says to a circle, you're pointless. What kind of a triangle is a tortilla chip? And salsa leaves triangle. Oh, I thought that was a pretty good one. If you build a triangle with sticks, would it be called trigonometry? I need to ask our net control if that's correct or not, since she has a PhD in math. Okay. Oh, I have bonus jokes tonight. Slide Master, slide number 15. I knew you couldn't do without some of these jokes for this time of the year. How is the snow globe feeling this time of the year? A little shaken. What did the snowman order at Wendy's? Now, this is easy. I'm sure some of you are... Yeah, JJ's shaking, not stirred. And JJ got the answer to this one. What did the snowman order at Wendy's? Frosty, of course, a Frosty. What did the icy road say to the truck? Yeah, like we're going to have ice on an 82-degree day. By the way, we did break the record temperature. All-time high temperature for DFW on Christmas Day was 82. Oh, what did the icy road say to the truck? I want to go for a spin? No? Yes? I don't know if that's a good one, JJ, or not. He's throwing answers out at some of these jokes. What food do you get when you cross Frosty with a bear? We were just talking about a Frosty, so what food do you get when you cross Frosty with a bear? Okay, that was a stretch maybe. What did the big furry hat say to the warm woolly scarf? You hang around while I go on ahead. Oh, this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Masters, slide number 16. Let's get on to these constellations. Gamma Antares, or Misarthon. This name appears to have been lost to antiquity by what it means. Richard Allen notes that the possible connection between the Hebrew word meaning ministers, but acknowledges that this connection may be erroneous. William Tyler Olcott, in his book Star Lore, Myths, Legends, and Facts, notes that this star has been translated as two attendants, which is a reference to both Beta and Gamma being the two attendant stars for Hamel, the brightest star in Aries. Matharman, if that's how you pronounce it, is a binary star and is one of the earliest examples to be discovered, being found to be doubled by Robert Hooke in 1664 while he was tracking a comet passing through Aries. The two stars are very close together, separated by only 7 arc seconds, but they can be split by a small telescope. Components A and B have almost equal magnitudes. A is 4.52 and B is 4.58. To the unaided eye, you can't tell the difference. Slide Master, slide number 17, please. No, JJ, I don't think that Robert Hooke was a captain. Yeah, okay. Slide 17. NGC 772, by the way, NGC stands for New General Catalog. 772 is a spiral galaxy and is listed as being about 98 million light years away. Dave Hutchinson writes that it has been able to spot NG 772 with a 4.5-inch reflecting telescope from a dark sky site. In the Night Sky Observer's Guide, George Keppel and Glenn Sander wrote that NGC 772 is the brightest galaxy in Aries with a magnitude of 10.3, and that in a 8 to 10-inch telescope, it shows a small, bright core surrounded by a very faint, diffuse halo. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. NGC 972 is a spiral galaxy of magnitude 11.4. This is getting fainter. Dave Hutchinson writes, has found reports of the observations of this galaxy made with a 4-inch refractor, but he did not specifically call NGC 972 a challenge object, but he did make the challenge of trying to observe this galaxy with a small aperture instrument. Our view of NGC 972 is quite oblique. It's not an edge-on view, but it is fairly close to being edge-on, which makes it appear to Dave Hutchinson to be an elliptical galaxy, but it's a spiral. Slide Master, slide number 19, please. Switching to the constellation of Triangulum, this has been known since ancient times. It was known as Delaton to the ancient Greeks from its similarity to the Greek letter delta. This similarity in shape has also led to be an association with the Nile River, particularly the Nile Delta. Interesting. Star Iota is a double star, unable to be split at 42 power. At 81 power in a telescope, it can be split, but they're very close together. 126 power, it is easily split. The pair consists of a brighter star with a fainter star. The fainter star looks bluish, and the brighter star has a good color of gold. Number 15, Triangulum. This double is easily seen in a 50-millimeter finder scope, so it is definitely a binocular object. At 42 power, it's another Albireo wannabe with a yellow brighter star and a bluish green companion. Again, the color contrast was not as pronounced as the Albireo itself, but it's nice. This is an easy double at 42 power and you can drive a Mack truck between the two stars. This is actually a quote from Dennis Harwell. You can drive a Mack truck between the two stars of 15 Triangulum. Slide master, slide number 20. M33 was discovered by Charles Messier himself on August 24th, 1764. Burnham's Celestial Handbook calls it one of the notable discoveries of Messier. M33 is a type SC spiral galaxy, and being a member of our local group of galaxies, it is the closest galaxy of that type to the Earth. M33 is often called the Triangulum Galaxy or the Pinwheel Galaxy. It shares the nickname Pinwheel with M101 in Ursa Major. Most people that I hear call it the Triangulum Galaxy. Compared to M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, to our own Milky Way galaxy, M33 is a relatively small spiral, being about 50 to 60,000 light years in diameter, compared to Andromeda's 150 light years, and the Milky Way's 100 light years, 100,000 light years, I should say. M33 and M31 are both roughly the same distance from the Earth, about 2.3 or 2.4 million light years away. Robert Burnham Jr. in his Celestial Handbook writes that it's interesting to note that M33 and M31 are only about 570,000 light years apart, 4 times closer to each other than they are to our own Milky Way. In fact, Stephen G. Amiro, in his book, The Messier Objects, notes that M33 may be a satellite galaxy of M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, orbiting it just as the Moon orbits the Earth. Kind of interesting. This is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Masters, slide number 21, please. Here are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Aries, the Ram, and Triangulum, the Triangle. I'm just giving you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 70 different observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide number 22, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week, Aries the Ram and Triangulum the Triangle. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every week here on Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Next time I'll take a look at the constellation of Pisces, the fish or fishes. Either one's correct as a plural. This is KF5, JJ, sending it back to our net control. KF5 PDS. Miss Billy, it's all yours.
Okay, well, I'm not sure what happened there. We'll find out. This is KE5ICX. Next segment's mine anyway, so I'll go ahead and do that. First, I'll ask, are there any additional check-ins? If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Billy says that she can't transmit. We'll see what we can do. I'll go ahead and do my section, and then Billy, see if you get the button back. It may be something with the echo link on your end. Okay, next up is space launches for this week, and I get this information from Space Coast Launches, and the one I really use is Spaceflight Now Launch Schedule, which is spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. And nearly every one of these, if not every single flight, is available online. You can watch the launches, such as the Webb Space Telescope, which launched this morning. So we have, coming up, December 27th, we have a Russian Soyuz rocket will launch 36 satellites into orbit for OneWeb, which is developing constellation hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband communications. This is from Bakamir Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. They use a Soyuz 2.1B rocket with, everyone say it together, a Fregat upper stage. In January, we have a Falcon 9 Starlink competition. This will be from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink Internet satellites. Let's see, that's all they say. Also in January, there'll be a Launcher 1 called Above the Clouds. This will launch on Cosmic Girl. This is a Boeing 747-400 that will fly out of Mojave Air and Spaceport in California. The Virgin Orbit Launcher 1 rocket will launch on its fourth flight after dropping from a modified Boeing 747 carrier aircraft. The mission will be Virgin Orbit's second operational launch, carrying small satellites for the U.S. military's space test program, Spire, and the Polish company Sat Revolution. Also, sometime in January, we have the Electron Black Sky 1617 launch. This is from Launch Complex 1A from Mahia Peninsula, New Zealand. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch 2 small second-generation satellites for Black Sky commercial fleet of Earth observation spacecraft. Then we have a real date here, January 10th, will be a Falcon 9 launch. This is from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. This is right across from Pad 39A, by the way. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the Transporter 3 mission, a rideshare flight to a sun-synchronous orbit with numerous small microsatellites and nanosatellites for commercial and government customers. On January 21st, the Atlas V will launch from SLC-41, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. This Atlas V rocket will launch the USSF-8 mission with its 5th and 6th satellites for the Space Force's Geosynchronous Space Situational Awareness Program, or GSSAP, designed to help the military track and observe objects in geosynchronous orbit. The rocket will fly in the 511 vehicle configuration with 5-meter fairing, 1 solid rocket booster, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. Also in January, Falcon 9 will launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida. It doesn't say which pad. It just says it will launch a Cosmo SkyMed second generation, or CSG-2, radar surveillance satellite for ASI. That's an Italian space agency. On January 27th, Soyuz will launch from Bakamir Cosmodrome. Will be a Soyuz launch of OneWeb 13. This will be 36 satellites launched into orbit, which will be developing constellation hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband communications. It'll launch on a Soyuz 2.1B rocket with a Fregat upper stage. And that's it. That's all I got for satellite launches, but really for most of January at this point. Let's see. We'll go back to net control, I hope. This is KE5ICX.
Thanks very much, Tom. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. It's like I hit it and then there was no audio. I killed the transmit. I didn't have a way to transmit. So it happened, but it appears to be working now. So thank you very much for stepping in, and I was just going to over to you for your report anyway. So perfect timing. All right, this is KF5PDS, Billy, your net for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I'll return the net to Brenda. BB5OZL, the net is yours.
Thank you, Billy. This is WB5OZL. Tonight's article is entitled, Comets' Heads Can Be Green But Never Their Tails. After 90 years, we finally know why. Ever so often, the Kuiper Belt and Oort clouds are galactic snowballs made up of ice dust and rocks our way. 4.6 billion-year-old leftovers from the formation of the solar system. These snowballs, or as we call them, comets, go through a colorful metamorphosis as they cross the sky, with many comets' heads turning a radiant green color that gets brighter as they approach the sun. But strangely, this green shade disappears before it reaches the one or two tails trailing behind the comet. Astronomers, scientists, and chemists have been puzzled by this mystery for almost a century. In the 1930s, physicist Gerhard Hertzberg theorized the phenomenon was due to sunlight destroying diatomic carbon, also known as dicarbon, or C2, a chemical created from the interaction between sunlight and organic matter on the comet's head. But as dicarbon isn't stable, this theory has been hard to test. The new UNSW Sydney-led study, published by Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, has finally found a way to test the chemical reaction in a laboratory, and in doing so, they've proven this 90-year-old theory correct. We've proven the mechanism by which dicarbon is broken up by sunlight, says Timothy Schmidt, chemistry professor at UNSW Science and senior author of the study. This explains why the green coma, the fuzzy layer of gas and dust surrounding the nucleus, shrinks as the comet gets closer to the sun, and why the tail of the comet isn't green. The key player in the center of the mystery, dicarbon, is both highly reactive and responsible for giving many comets their green color. It's made up of two carbon atoms stuck together and can only be found in extremely energetic or low oxygen environments like stars, comets, and the interstellar medium. Dicarbon doesn't exist on comets until they get close to the sun. As the sun starts to warm the comet up, the organic matter living on the icy nucleus evaporates and moves to the coma. Sunlight then breaks up these larger organic molecules, creating dicarbon. The UNSW-led team have now shown that the comet gets even close. That as the comet gets even closer to the sun, the extreme UV radiation breaks apart the dicarbon molecules it recently created in a process called photodissociation. This process destroys dicarbon before it can move far from the nucleus, causing the green coma to get brighter and shrink, making sure the green tinge never makes it to the tail. This is the first time this chemical interaction has been studied here on Earth. I find it incredible that someone in the 1930s thought that this is probably what's happening, down to the level of detail of the mechanism of how it was happening. And then 90 years later, we found out it is what's happening, says Ms. Jasmine Borofsky, lead author of the study and former UNSW Science Honors student. Heisberg was an incredible physicist and went on to win a Nobel Prize for chemistry in the 1970s. It's pretty exciting to be able to prove one of the things that he theorized. Professor Schmidt, who has been studying dicarbon for 15 years, says the findings help us better understand both dicarbon and comets. Dicarbon comes from the breakup of larger organic molecules frozen in the nucleus of the comet, the sort of molecules that are ingredients for life, he says. But understanding its lifetime and destruction, we can better understand how much organic material is evaporating off comets. Discoveries like these might one day help us to solve other space mysteries. To solve this puzzle, the team needed to recreate the same galactic chemical process in a controlled environment on Earth. They pulled this off with the help of a vacuum chamber, a lot of lasers, and one powerful cosmic reaction. First, we had to make this molecule, which is too reactive to store in a bottle, says Professor Schmidt. It's not something we could buy from the shop. We did this by taking a larger molecule known as perchloroethylene, or C2Cl4, and blasting off its chlorine atoms with a high-powered UV laser. The newly made dicarbon molecules were sent traveling through a gas beam in a vacuum chamber, which is around 2 meters long. The team then pointed to another 2 UV lasers toward the dicarbon, one to flood it with radiation, the other to make its atoms detectable. The radiation ripped the dicarbon apart, sending its carbon atoms flying onto a speed detector. By analyzing the speed of these quickly moving atoms, the team could measure the strength of the carbon bond to about 1 in 20,000, which is like measuring 200 meters to the nearest centimeter. Ms. Borowski says, due to the complexity of the experiment, it took 9 months before we were able to make their first observation. We were about to give up, she says. It took so long to make sure everything was precisely lined up in space and time. The 3 lasers were all invisible, so there was a lot of stabbing in the dark, quite literally. Professor Schmidt says this is the first time anyone has ever observed this chemical reaction. It's extremely satisfying to have solved a conundrum that dates back to the 1930s. Well, it's almost over. I'll go ahead and finish it. There are around 3,700 known comets in the solar system, though it's suspected there could be billions more. On average, a comet's nucleus is a whopping 10 kilometers wide, but its coma is often 1,000 times bigger. Right, comets can be put on spectacular shows for those lucky enough to see them, but in the past, comets might have done more than that for Earth. In fact, one of the theories about the origin of life is that comets once delivered the building blocks of life right to our doorstep. This exciting research shows us just how complex processes in interstellar space are, says Professor Martin von Kranendonk, a UNSW astrobiologist and geologist who was not involved in the study. Early Earth would have experienced a jumble of different carbon-bearing molecules being delivered to its surface, allowing for even more complex reactions to occur in the lead up to life. Now that the case of the missing green tail in comets is solved, Professor Schmidt, who specializes in space chemistry, wants to continue solving other space mysteries. Next, he hopes to investigate diffuse interstellar bands, patterns of dark lines between stars that don't match any item or molecule we know of. Diffuse interstellar bands are a pretty big unsolved mystery, he says. We don't know why the light that's arriving on Earth often has nibbles taken out. That's just one more mystery in a huge inventory of bizarre things in space that we've yet to discover. That's it. This is from ScienceDaily.com. This is WB5OZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. This is PDS, Billy, your net control. Hi, net. All right, next up is visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. So at this time, I'll back over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll give us that report on visible satellite passages from KF5PDS.
All right, thank you, Billy. This is KE5ICX. Well, nothing for the International Space Station this week. Unfortunately, there are no reasonable passes here in the Dallas area. So next best thing right now is Tiangong. That's the Chinese space station that's up in orbit. I got 2 passes that are pretty good on January 1st. We have a pass at 6:41 a.m. out of the southwest, reach its highest point at 53 degrees at south-southeast, and then it will fall to the east-northeast at 6:47. Next pass is a couple of days later on June 3rd. This is 0.9 magnitude, 6:21 in the morning. It'll reach its highest point at 73 degrees at 6:22, and it'll fall 6:25 to the east-northeast. Next up is the X-37 space plane. This is the one that's been in orbit now for a couple of years from the United States Space Force. Mystery plane, we don't know what it's doing, we just know it's up there. The variation on brightness matters because of the plane shape of the aircraft as opposed to a cylinder or a cone. One pass is on December 31st. This one is a 1.0 magnitude at 6:21 in the evening out of the southwest. It will reach its highest point at 6:23 at 53 degrees and fall to southeast at 6:26. The next day we have on January 1st, 0.7 magnitude. This is at 6:41 in the morning out of the west. Reaches highest point at 6:44 at 40 degrees to the north-northwest, and it will fall to 6:46, 10 degrees to the northeast. Then we have on next up is Embassad. This is the decommissioned, not operational environmental satellite that's in orbit, in polar orbit. It does pull some reasonably okay magnitudes, but it can be seen. I've got, 4 different passes. December 27th, 2.9 magnitude. This one's at 5:21 in the morning, reaches its highest point at 5:26 at 88 degrees, and it will fall to the south-southwest at 5:31. Then we have on the 30th, 3.1 magnitude. This one may be a little tough for us to see here. 5:47 a.m. out of the north. It will reach its highest point at 50 degrees at 50:52, and then fall at 5:56. Next one is January 1st. That one is 2.9 magnitude at 5:35 a.m. out of the north. It will reach its highest point at 66 degrees at 5:40, and then it will fall to the south-southwest at 5:45. And then finally on January 2nd, the better of the two passes, 4:58 in the morning out of the north-northeast. It will reach its highest point at 5:03, and it will fall to, at 51 degrees, and it will fall to the south at 5:08. And that's it. Passes are okay. No ISS this week, though. Sorry. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you very much, Tom. So next up is Astronomical Q&A. So we have some time in case anybody has any astronomical questions. We may have, so if you have a question, please come now with your call sign, and we'll see what we can do to answer. Anything, so we'll go ahead with our 73 rounds. Are there any checked-in stations that have any other remarks or questions? Not hearing anything, so at this time I'll turn the net back over to Tom, KE5ICX. If you'll do a final check-in round and give me a final count for this evening's net, I would appreciate it. So this is to KE5ICX from KF5PDS.
And this is KE5ICX, and this is your last chance. I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins. You don't have to do anything, just check in. Please come with your call sign, phonetically your name and where you're transmitting from.
W5BLT, W5 Bravo Lima Tango, Bill, Garland.
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
Okay, we picked up W5B-LT, that's Bill. I think he said Farmers Branch, but I got you in, Bill. KG5ZMG, that's Joe in Arlington. Anyone else? Okay, we had 16 check-ins, Miss Billy. Back to you, KE5ICX.
Copy that. Thank you, Tom, that we had hams participating on the air tonight. So thank you to who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5PDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:17 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. Three, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And I hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. The next Skynet will take place on January 1st, so this is the last Skynet for 2021. So I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and very Happy New Year to everybody. And don't forget, following this net is the Afterglow movie, where we'll be discussing The Hunt for Red October. Take care. 7-3.
All right, thank you everyone for checking in this evening. The Afterglow movie net, The Hunt for Red October, will begin at 10:30, so you've got 12 minutes to go do something. So we'll be back here in 12 minutes. This is KE5ICX, clear.
normal state.
Anybody want to do the net tonight? Be the net control? Be the person who actually directs everything that happens for the famed movie, The Hunt for Red October?
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
No, it's okay, Brenda. I'll do it. It's fine. Oh, we're on the air. This is KE5ICX, and I'll be your net control. Tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. That's what she says, but then she ran away. Okay. These are the rules of the road. We'll be talking about a movie. This one, The Hunt for Red October, which you were assigned last Sunday. Now, you may have seen the movie since then, Sunday, meaning you followed the rules, or maybe you haven't seen The Hunt for Red October in a very long time, but that's okay, because that's the movie we'll be talking about. Yes, it's kind of science fiction-y, because it's got that caterpillar drive thing in it, but the Typhoon, what is this thing? The Advanced Typhoon-class submarine is a real thing, just not as exactly as depicted, but pretty darn big. 600 feet long. A real submarine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the plot summary for you. You think about what you're going to talk about, and when you check in, which is the first thing will be the story, followed by the acting and characterization, followed by special effects. There should be plenty of all three, and then we'll be done. And then you can go and watch Lost in Space. So, here we go. The Hunt for Red October is a 1990s American submarine spy thriller film, produced and starring Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, Scott Glenn, James Earl Jones, and Sam Neill. The film is an adaptation of Tom Clancy's 1984 best-selling novel of the same name, which I believe was the first of the series. And this is the first installment of a film series with the protagonist Jack Ryan. There's even been 2 seasons of a television series of it, too. The story is set during late Cold War era and involves a rogue Soviet naval captain who wishes to defect to the United States with his officers in the Soviet Navy's newest and most advanced ballistic missile submarine, a fictional improvement on the Soviet Typhoon-class submarine. CIA analyst correctly deduces his motive and must prove his theory to the U.S. Navy before a violent confrontation between the Soviet and American Navies spirals out of control. In 1984, Soviet submarine Captain Marko Ramius is given command of the Red October, a new Typhoon-class ballistic missile submarine with stealth caterpillar drive, rendering it undetectable to passive radar. Ramius leaves port to conduct exercises along with an Alpha-class attack submarine, commanded by his former student, Captain Tupolov. I think, liked a lot of airplanes, too. Once at sea, Ramius secretly kills political officer Ivan Putin. What a name, Putin. Nobody's named Putin. And relays false orders that they are to conduct missile drills. Got to say it right, missile drills off America's east coast. At the same time, America's Los Angeles-class submarine, the USS Dallas, hey, how about that? Tasked with identifying and shadowing Soviet subs as they leave port, detects Red October, begins its mission, but immediately loses contact once the sub's caterpillar drive is engaged. Next morning, CIA analyst and former Marine Jack Ryan, after consulting with Vice Admiral James Greer, briefs the government officials on Red October and the threat it poses. Learning that the bulk of the Soviet Navy has been deployed to the Atlantic to find and sink the sub, they conclude that Ramius plans a renegade nuclear strike. During the briefing, Ryan hypothesizes that Ramius, actually a native... She's yawning. We haven't even begun, and she's yawning. In the middle of this thing I'm reading, was actually a native-born Lithuanian widower with few remaining personal ties to the Soviet Union. Instead, plans to defect to the U.S. National Security Advisor Jeffrey Pelt gives Ryan 3 days to confirm his theory. He is sent to an aircraft carrier in the mid-Atlantic. Meanwhile, after some delay, it's the USS Enterprise. Meanwhile, after some delay, Tupolev also receives orders to intercept and destroy the Red October. Lots of, 5 tones of Red October theme at this point. Due to an unknown saboteur's action, Red October's caterpillar drive malfunctions during risky maneuvers through a narrow undersea canyon. The sonar technician aboard Dallas has discovered a way to detect the Red October using his underwater acoustics software and his cassette recorder. And Dallas plots their own intercept course. After hazardous ocean transfer, Ryan is able to board the Dallas when he attempts to persuade its captain, Commander Bart Macuso, to contact Ramius and determine his actual intention. Soviet ambassador informs the U.S. government that Ramius is a renegade and asks for help in sinking Red October. Let's see, yada, 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 yada. Ramius submerges, leaving his crew in life rafts. Meanwhile, underwater, well, they find him, and I just skipped about an hour of the movie. Meanwhile, underwater, Ryan, Macuso, and Jones come aboard via a rescue sub, at which point Ramius requests asylum for himself and officers. Red October is suddenly attacked by the Konolov as the two Soviet subs maneuver one of Red October's cooks, Loganov, an underwater GRU agent and a secret saboteur opens fires on the bridge, fatally wounding First Officer Vasily Borodin. All he wanted was a pickup truck before retreating to the nuclear missile bay. Ryan and Ramius pursue him, and Loganov wounds Ramius in the shoulder, but Ryan kills Loganov before he can ignite a missile engine. Meanwhile, Red October makes evasive maneuvers with a diversion provided by Dallas, causing VK Kolonovs to be destroyed by its own fired torpedo. To be or not to be. I think I saw that in a movie. A crew of Red October, now rescued, watched the explosion from the U.S. frigate, unaware that the second Soviet submarine. They believe that Ramius has sacrificed himself and scuttled Red October to avoid being boarded. Epilogue. Ryan and Ramius, their subterfuge complete, navigate Red October to the Penobscot River in Maine. Ramius admits that he defected because after he was handed the plans for Red October, he quickly realized that the vessel's true purpose was to launch an unprovoked nuclear first strike against the United States, and concluded that he would never support such an action. From atop the submarine's sail deck, Ramius, pleased to have made it safely to America, offers Ryan a quote from Christopher Columbus. And the siege will grant each man new hope, as sleep brings dreams of home. Ryan nods in agreement and offers in return, "Welcome to the New World, sir." The end. Now everybody sing the happy-go-lucky Soviet anthem at this point. Okay, that's it. Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin as Jack Ryan, Tim Curry as Dr. Petrov. What an oaf. Peter Firth was in it as Ivan Putin and political officer. He didn't last very long. What a nice guy he was, too. James Earl Jones, identifying every 10 minutes as "This is CNN." Jeffrey Jones as Skip Taylor. Fred Thompson, you remember him. He was always the guy carrying his briefcase and raincoat out the door on Law and Order. Courtney B. Van, he was also a senator, I think. Yes, he was a senator for some state somewhere. And lots of other people that are in the film. And Sam Neill. Everybody remembers Sam. Isn't he the one that let all the dinosaurs out? He did let all the dinosaurs out. Sam Neill was also in this movie as Captain Second Rank of an executive officer of the Red October. 5 notes, please. All right, let's take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see Hunt for Red October? Please come out.
W5BLT, Bill, Garland, yes.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill and Irving, yes.
WB50ZL, Brenda, Louisville. Yeah, I saw the movie. Tom, KE5ICX. I saw the movie. I'm also in Louisville. Anyone else?
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo. Yes, I've seen it.
KI5, JPM,
Okay, I got out of that. Let's see here. We got W5EVB. David, he saw the movie. And I think the next call was a little light on the audio. I think I got Kilo India 5, Golf Kilo Sierra, KI5GKS. Does that sound like who you are? I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit. Try again. All right, how about just a Kilo India 5 call? Maybe I just mangled the last part so badly you don't recognize you. But it was right after David, W5EVB, there was a Kilo India 5 call.
That was Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike. Yes, I am seeing you.
Okay, Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike. I think that's right. Is that correct?
Affirmative. I'm sorry, I'm having a little transition issue.
Okie dokie. I'm going to go in the order of check-ins here. You may want to increase power or improve your position. You're about 80% noise, so we may have some trouble hearing you. So when it comes your turn, just go ahead and crank up the power a little bit, improve your position. We'll see how it all goes. All right, so first part we're going to discuss is the plot, and we'll start with Bill, W5 BLT. Oh, there we go, W5BLT. I got it all messed up here. Bill and Garland, what did you think of the plot for Hunt for Red October?
I love the plot. This is Bill, W5 Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato. Got the call right. I love this movie, and I'll just say at the outset, as someone who is blind, this was the first movie with descriptive video that my friends gave to me at Christmas. So it's kind of fun. What is it, 25 years later? No, more than that. Okay, that made me feel old. To be going back to this movie again, so it gives the description in between the dialogue, and so all the scenes I got to have described, and really adds a lot to the movie. It's one of those classic United States-Russia movies with the plot twists and things like that with the defection, and I just absolutely have always enjoyed this movie, and had the crazy tune going around in my head for the past couple days for the movie. But I love the plot. I love the characters, and pretty much love anything with Sean Connery in it. W5BLT.
All right, thank you, Bill. And yeah, we'll talk about music and that too as well. But yeah, I'm glad that you got a decent description of the movie and what was going on, because the visuals are quite good too. They really lend a lot of authenticity to it. All right, next up is N5BB Bill. Bill saw the movie. What did you think of the plot for The Hunt for Red October?
This is N5BB. Yes, I thought it was a very good plot. I thought it was a really good Tom Clancy story. It was very believable. The characters all seemed real, and the actions seemed very believable through the whole movie. So I didn't find anything in it that to me was just too goofy. I thought the pace was good, and just in general, I thought it was a really good movie. Much better than most of these stinkers that we've seen on Afterglow. But I guess you can call it science fiction. It's about a kind of propulsion, which is actually still under research, but to our knowledge hasn't made it into operational submarines yet. But that's a real technology. So that's the neat thing about this, is it's based on real stuff. N5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. Next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, what did you think of the plot?
Well, I really liked it. I love this movie. The plot was just first rate. I'll have to say I don't know enough about submarines to tell you whether things were believable or not. I just taken their word for it. I didn't know if some of this technology was authentic or not, but that's okay. I can buy into it, and I didn't see any serious plot holes. And they told a good yarn. It was well done, moved along at a good clip. You weren't bored, and it was just a very satisfying movie to watch in terms of plot. All right, back to net, WB5OZL.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Next up is David, W5EBB. Your thoughts on the plot for The Hunt for Red October from KE5I6.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Well, I think the plot was really good. I've probably seen this movie about 20 times on average, maybe once every 2 years. And, it's just one of those go-to movies that you just enjoy watching again and again. And, it did actually get nominated for 3 Academy Awards. It won 1 for Best Sound Effects Editing. But the movie was cut well. It had good editing, and it was actually, that was one of the nominated categories. It moved at a good pace. There were never any slow points in the movie. The plot just unfolded scene after scene, and it was very well edited, well shot. Acting was good. And there were some Hollywood liberties taken, I guess you could say, with some of the underwater scenes occurring a little too quickly. Things usually move at a much slower pace in the undersea realm, and you don't get that close to like these undersea mounts. You kind of want to stay away from those. So some of those depictions weren't very realistic, I think. I actually had been aboard a USS, an attack sub. I was on the SSN 707 USS Portsmouth for 2 trips at sea, the first one lasting for 2 weeks. It was when I was working for Applied Research Labs in Austin. And that's pretty much what it looks like. They actually took pictures from inside the Portsmouth when they were designing the sets for this movie. And it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. And some of the things like the magnetohydrodynamic caterpillar drive apparently isn't real. Certainly they try to make things as quiet as possible, and operationally, you get the dropping of the wrench. You're basically inside a 33-foot diameter tube made of steel, I guess, and it can make some noise if you're not careful. But I thought the movie was really good, very entertaining, a good pace, and I enjoyed it. W5EBB.
All right, thank you, David. Learn something new every day. Let's see. Next up is it Tom? KI5JCM. Let's see if we can hear you. What did you think about the plot for The Hunt for Red October?
Hope you guys can hear me more clearly. I'm holding a cookie sheet up while I'm standing on my tippy toes. How copy?
Well, I know it's uncomfortable, but that's 1,000% better. Yes, you're clear and solid into the repeater. Keep doing that. That will work just fine.
I'll just do this when it's my turn to transmit. I love the plot of this movie. This has been one of my all-time favorites. And it's not like Princess Bride where I seek it out, but if I find it on TV, I'll always watch it. And if anyone goes, hey, let's watch this movie streaming, I'm always down for it. Good pacing, good plot. Even if the magneto-hydro drive, I was told by some actual submariners that it wouldn't work because it would be way too noisy. Even knowing that, I really enjoy this film. Also, given we're talking about Soviets, someone is required to make the line, in Soviet Russia, submarine finds you. Back to you, Net Control.
Right, thanks. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and ask if there's additional check-ins before I give my spiel. Anyone else who would like to check in? Tonight's movie we're discussing is The Hunt for Red October. You don't necessarily have to have seen it, although most people have. But if you haven't, that's okay. We'll tell you about it. But let us know you're out there, and we'll check in. So please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see The Hunt for Red October?
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Jane near Weatherford, and you didn't check Echo Link earlier, but anyway, it seems that the radio signal is good enough that I can do it from here near Weatherford now, and Thomas may not need the pad anymore, but who knows, because it was really bad earlier. whatever the conditions were. Sorry, I'm talking way too long. KG5BZW, I'd like to comment.
All right, I'm sorry, Jay. Yeah, I see it here. You asked Echolink, and I wasn't looking. Well, I've got distractions here in the shack this evening, and she's been really bad about Norman Rockwell, a great painter, and I've been telling her she's wrong. So I got distracted. I'm sorry, Jay. Did you have any comments on the plot for this movie?
Sorry. Yes, I did. Yeah, this has been one of my favorite movies for a while. I hadn't seen it for a while though, but whatever reason. But I'm kind of glad to have watched it again for tonight. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, the only, in fact, I have to say the only complaint I could have about the movie is that it's almost too tight, and that everything that you see that you basically have Chekhov's guns everywhere, and they're all used. So, which actually kind of is like, I guess if you don't know before watching it, that that's actually really going to be important, blah blah blah. Sometimes it's nice to have something that's actually not relevant, just to distract you and think, oh well, okay, because it almost fits together too well, That's basically my thing. But golly, yes, it's a lot better than certainly some of the films we've been seeing here lately. But yeah, it's really good, well paced, and especially after watching all of these other not so fun films, it's a welcome sight, and it's welcome to my eyes and ears for sure. And yeah, the thing I've heard about the not Magneto, I've forgotten how to call it, was that it wasn't so much that it wouldn't be the noise, it'd be the magnetic disturbance that would be the problem with using it. In other words, the whole point of it being undetectable would not be really exactly be possible, just due to the huge magnetic field that would be needed for it to work. But it could still. I have heard that that type of technology was. I don't know if it still is in research or not, but yeah, it was more about those fields. But yeah, no, I'm glad we watched it tonight. KG5BZW.
Oh, Jay, are you done? I didn't hear your call, so maybe you're still thinking.
I ended with KG5BZW. Can you hear me now? Maybe I should. My next reply might be on Echolink. KG Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey.
Okay, Jay. Well, you're holding the repeater. There's a little bit of noise, about 40% noise, but you're holding the repeater. So either way, whichever way you want to go. But I didn't hear your call, so I wasn't sure if you were done. Otherwise, everything was solid into the repeater. All right, my thoughts. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie immensely. It's amazing for 2 hours and 22 minutes, which I think is the runtime for this thing, that it actually just keeps going continuously. There's not a dull moment in the entire film. There's a lot going on. I think one of the things that really surprised me is when I went back to look, I'm not a submarine expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I did look this stuff up last night while I was watching the movie, and I was surprised to see that the Red October actually was depicted as there was a real submarine class. I'm trying to find the name of the thing again. But it exists, 600 feet long. The Caterpillar drive does not. Typhoon class, ballistic missile submarine. And that big, bulky size is truly like that. Apparently there's 3 tubes of metal, they're round cylinders that go through it, and then it's got an external skin on it that gives it kind of that weird shape, but it's really like 3 submarines in one. And it's just really amazing that they built these things. But in any case, the story itself, I really enjoyed. I thought it was a lot of fun. The actors, of course, which we'll talk about in the next round, there's a lot of chemistry there that's really, really well played out with all of the dialogue that goes along with it. So it keeps you engaged through the whole thing. They did an interesting job with it in the sense that, most submarine movies and submarines themselves, as David can probably attest to, are very tiny on the inside. I mean, there's not a lot of space. People are crammed together and with equipment and supplies and everything else. There's not a lot of room to move around. On these submarines, both the American Typhoon class and the Russian Typhoon class and the American Los Angeles class looked rather spacious overall in comparison to what you would expect. The only submarines that I've been on are World War II museum types, so I'm sure they're much smaller in size and girth and all of that. But even still, I think those things probably are not all that large. With maybe the exception of Typhoon class. I have to go and see if there's anything that's declassified that you can see what the inside looks like. There was something else I was going to say. I didn't write it down. Well, if it comes back to me, I'll figure it out. So let's go on to the acting and the characterization. We'll start at the top. We're talking about The Hunt for Red October. It says 1990. I thought it came out in 89, but I guess it was 1990. Oh well, doesn't matter. Back to the top. Let's go to Bill, W5BLT. What did you think about the acting and the characterization in this film from KE5ICX?
W5BLT. I thought everybody did a great job. There wasn't a character that was not believable. Now I can't remember the guy. Voltroff, or the one that wanted to go to Montana and have a pickup truck. That was hard, to see his character get killed off at the end, but it did lend itself to being very believable. Of course, James Earl Jones and Alec Baldwin and Sean Connery. I mean, they had some big name, great actors in this. I thought the lines for the characters were really good, and they all just did a tremendous job. There wasn't gaps or anything like that. It was just very well done. Some movies you get some dialogue and you're kind of, okay, they could have enunciated that better, or maybe did that part differently. And I didn't come away from this movie feeling that with the characters and the actors and stuff. So all very believable. Lines were great. And just enjoyed it immensely. I really liked James Earl Jones' character. as well, and just the way he played that, and a little bit gruff, but in charge and stuff. So, and Sean Connery did a great job, very believable. And I kind of liked sometimes how they would switch the dialogue in between. It was a lot of fun back in college when that film came out. I was majoring in history, so Russian history was a couple of the classes I was taking at the time, and so it was great to have that going back and forth with the characters as well. W5BLT.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And we move on to the next Bill, N5BB. Bill, what did you think of characterization, and the acting for that matter, from KE5ICX?
This is N5BB. I thought their characterization was good. The movie started off with some background on Ryan, where he was coming from and his situation. And through the movie, there was some more background that was given on, what he had done. And we learned things about the Russian commander and what his wife's dying and all those kinds of things. This is a rather psychological movie. A lot of, what is the other person thinking? And it's a rather smart movie. I say that, the people are not dumb in this movie. Even the Russian ambassador interacting with the U.S. National Security Advisor guy, they were lying to each other, but, they weren't dumb people. They were smart people. So, that's one thing that made it good. There's some... You believe that the people were, where they were supposed to be. They were trained submarine people, officers and enlisted men and everything, and you believed all of it. I also like the movie because Dallas came to the rescue. You have to love any movie where Dallas comes to the rescue. And I thought it was good acting, and I can't, fault any of that, really. This is N5BB. Again, good movie.
All right, thank you, Bill. Next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Your thoughts on characterization for The Hunt for Red October?
This is WB50ZL. Well, I just thought that the casting was excellent. Some of my favorite actors were in this movie, and this movie gave them a lot of range, to showcase their talents, I thought. I just adore Sam Neill. He's just amazing, and he's in one of my favorite movies, The Dish, and he was perfect in this movie. It's hard to play a Russian when you're not Russian, but they managed to pull it off, and I give them a lot of credit for that. I didn't think anybody was out of character or unbelievable. I think that's a credit to this movie, is they all made you believe that they were really those characters, and part of that's acting, but it's also directing and story and all that. Okay, back to net, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Next up is W5EBB. Well, David, tell us, how do Russians sound on submarines? What are your thoughts? Do people sound differently when they're in submarines than they are on the surface? Maybe that will tell us if the Russians sounded authentic or not. From KE5ICX.
I have no knowledge of such matters, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you. No, I don't know anything about that. But as riders aboard a submarine, there were, I guess, 3 or 4 of us per trip, and we have to just try to be as unobtrusive as possible because these guys are doing their jobs, and we just tried to do ours as unobtrusively as possible. But we certainly got a good viewpoint of their standard operations, and there's lots of drills that you just have to sort of sit back and watch it happen and get out of everybody's way. But one of the most memorable things we did was called Angles and Dangles, and that's when you're out in open sea and you go down bubble at a steep angle and then come right back up at a steep angle, and it looks like a sawtooth if you were to look at a depth chart. And you do have to lean into it, lean forward and lean back to keep your balance. But that's one of the drills they do. It's also a shakedown to see if anything's loose, rattling around. That's a good way to test if there's a coffee mug that's sitting on a table somewhere. But again, it was mainly stay out of everybody's way and just do your job. And I spent most of my time in the torpedo room recording high-density data, recording reel-to-reel tapes. That was a lot of fun. But there's obviously a strict hierarchy and decorum and protocol. And the dining room scene near the beginning of the movie where Ramius is, still eating while all of his officers, sorry about that, are sitting there, worried about what's going on, and he seems very relaxed. But he's at the head of the table. And the dining room, the captain invited us to dine with him a couple of times, but usually we ate in the crew's mess. But the dining room has a very specific protocol, and there's even a bell that they'll ring if you violate the protocol. Like, you don't sit down until the captain's sat down. You don't put your napkin in your lap until the captain's done it. You don't pick up a soup spoon until he's done it first. You don't reach for the salt and pepper until he's had a chance to do that. So all of these things, a protocol and a decorum, and it's just a very military hierarchy that you see played out, every minute. But that scene harkened back to that particular memory. So Sean Connery, yeah, great as Marco Ramius, masquerading. He's really James Bond, but he's masquerading as a submarine commander. And then we got Alec Baldwin confirming his proficiency with handguns when he takes out that GRU agent, the cook. And then the other casualty was Sam Neill and as XO Vasily, and Peter Firth as the political officer at the beginning. So there were only 3 casualties in this entire movie. And for a James Bond movie, that's an extremely low number. But all the characters were good, and they played their roles very well. And next time, write a memo, Jack. W5EBB.
Oh, thank you, David. You always got great stories. I love it. And this little thing about you being on submarines, a couple of stints out there was an added bonus. Thanks. Appreciate that. We'll be back to you in a little bit. Next is Tom, KI5JCM. Tom, what did you think about the characterization, the acting, that sort of thing from KE5ICX?
Well, first, the name here is Thomas. I've always loved the acting in this movie. I'm a huge Sean Connery fan. I think he stayed in his career a little too long, so we have some of those late movies, but I have made many comments about this really could have been a masterful James Bond film. I love the Russian crew. It cracks me up that some of the Russians they got had slight Scottish accents to blend in with Sean Connery's. But all in all, just masterfully acted. I guess the only other thing I'd have to say is in the scene when Alec Baldwin shoots the GRU agent and the cook, do you think he meant to shoot him or the gun just went off? I'm sorry. Back to you, Net Control.
right, thank you, Thomas. Oh, poor Alec Baldwin. Too soon? I don't know. Maybe not. All right. We're towards the bottom of the list here. Does anybody else want to join us this evening? We're talking about the movie from 1990, as it turns out. I thought it was 89. I was pretty sure, but it was 1990, The Hunt for Red October, with Sean Connery and Alec Baldwin as the random shooter, I guess. Anybody want to join us? If you do, just come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the movie? Even if you didn't see it, it's okay. We'll tell you about it. Please come now. I get
BZW.
Because they got up at 3 a.m. to watch a launch and then open presents immediately thereafter. All right, my thoughts on... Oh, there was one thing. I was trying to remember what it was I wanted to ask or mention, and Brenda sort of reminded me, and that is the defection. I didn't talk about plot, and then we'll get into the other part. And that is yes, it's officers. I don't know, what is there, 10 of them there? And he was able to pick them all out. And how do you do that? And I'm getting a comment that he was an instructor who trained them, but if he was an instructor, why would they let him know their feelings? I don't know. It just seemed kind of flimsy that he was able to get away with that, and that the cook himself was part of the crew. Actually, it would seem more realistic to me that one of the guys would turn or otherwise have been like a kind of a double agent in the end. I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't have worked because they would have reported him immediately, but who knows? Who really knows? That was the question there. As far as the acting and the folks in it, holy yes, I really enjoyed the heck out of it. There was a lot going on there. Everybody loves these actors. Sean Connery, no doubt, and the character is Marco Ramius is a bigger-than-life character, just like his James Bond character, as you would expect. And he carries himself admirably, even though he's a captain in this movie. Tim Curry as the dumbfounded Dr. Petrov. Poor guy. Nobody can give him an even break, but then, we saw him in Rocky Horror. Let's see. Peter Firth, for the very short time he was in the film, was good. I liked him. James Earl Jones, who went on to, even though we had different Jack Ryans through the years, James Earl Jones continues to play James Greer, even to this day, I think, as the Vice Admiral for this and Deputy Director of the CIA. Very, very interesting. Sam Neill, who we all know has let all the dinosaurs out. He was quite good, and I kind of felt bad when he got shot in the chest and died. He never got that pickup truck that he wanted. No papers, anybody. No papers. And then Fred Thompson playing Fred Thompson like he always does. The only thing missing was his briefcase and raincoat. If he had that, I would say it was everything you could imagine from Fred Thompson in a role. Overall, quite interesting. No love interest except for the submarines. That was it, which is, usually kind of makes up as a guy movie, but not always. It's still quite the film. I thought what was really interesting is the James book of military ships. Those things are rare. I don't know how they are delivered these days, but those books are extremely expensive. I was looking them up. A 10-year-old copy, one that's like, worthless, was over on eBay for $1,100. And I'm not even sure you could sell it. There are others, more recent, $2,000 for a single book. That has all the information that you could possibly want, I guess, on submarines and all details you can imagine. It's been around since the 1800s, and Jane is the last name of the man who actually edited the first book, about 1860-something, I think it was. It was a long time. So it was very, very, very interesting. I enjoyed the fact that they made a big deal of those books, probably the same book in two different scenes, by the way, because you see it in the background, both in Brian's office, and then again with his buddy, with the Deep Sea DSV, I think, had a copy of it sitting in the background. You notice those things after a while because, well, you notice those things, especially when they're expensive. I guess that's it I had on this. Who was the fellow who played the radio man? He was good, too. I really liked him. I don't know. Let's see. There is, I'm reading here in the thing here, it's, shoot, hold on. I just caught this out of the corner of my eye, but there was one fellow, Jeffrey Jones, as Skip Taylor, a former submarine commander who identifies Red October's propulsion system, was in this film, which is quite interesting. Oh, that's the guy I was talking about. Had the James book in the background. He's the DSV guy. So, interesting. Okay, enough from me. Let's go back to the top. We'll discuss anything you want. Special effects, which there are plenty of, I think. Quite well done. We'll go with that and anything else you want to talk about. Let's do the third round. We'll start with W5BLT. Bill, over in Garland. What you got for us from KE5ICX?
Bravo Zulu Whiskey.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. I'm sorry. I had you, and there were notes in between because I added you. KG5BZW. Jay, go ahead. Forgive me a second time.
Okay, I'm going to use Echolink this time because I can hear the signal's just coming in and out. Although there's not much I can honestly say about the characters that hasn't already been said. I mean, the characters, yeah, great. I forgot how many good actors were in this film. But of course, I'm kind of judging them as good actors. Some of them, granted, I know them from other things too, but I kind of, got the impression of them as good actors from this film. So, yeah, it's there's just really, I really do like the whole. It's just called film crew. No, that's not what I really want to say. Just the actors, the set actors. I think all of us are kind of forgiving Sean Connery because, A, he's James Bond, and B, well, he's James Bond. I don't know. I have actually, had classes at university with Lithuanians, and I don't think they quite sound like that, but, what can we say? He still plays his part well, and there's just much to say about that. I do like James Earl Jones as his thing, but I don't know. I feel like I'm not really adding anything new here. So I don't know. I can't really think of anything else. I thought I would have something a little bit better, but I think, yeah, a little bit, I'll go ahead and let the next people talk about whatever else they want to talk about. In fact, I'll probably, I don't think if there's anything else I'll probably need to say for tonight. So I'm glad to be here, glad to hear everybody's comments, and I'll be listening, and if there's anything else, I might come in, but we'll see. KG5BZW, back to net.
All right, thank you, Jay. And I probably will ask you because I ignored you on this round until you reminded me. So just to show that I wasn't ignoring you a second time, it would seem like I'm doing it on purpose. It wasn't. I actually, because I messed up the first time around without doing an echo link, I put your name down the list, and there were notes in between, so I thought, oh, we're done, going back to the top. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. So we'll go to round 3, which is special effects, music, whatever you want to talk about on the film. W5BLT, Bill, what you got for us from KE5ICF?
Okay, well, I obviously can't speak to the visual effects, but I could, I think, somewhat give a visual thumbs up, if I could use that. Anyway, I think the way that the movie was described with descriptive video, based on some of them that I've seen, others with the descriptive video, I would say that they did a good job visually with the descriptions and the underwater scenes and the rocks and how close they get to things, and the turning and of the subs and waiting till that last second, and the way that they did the missiles, torpedoes, and I like the scene at the end when the other captain accidentally blows himself up. I love the music in this. I just had it going through my head past couple days watching it again. The one other thing that I will add that I found interesting is Alec Baldwin and David Kirkpatrick with, I think, Paramount Pictures. There was a feud, I guess, and there's, of course, different stories out there, but I'll break for a second. But the line, or at least the legend that's out there, is Alec Baldwin wanted more money, and they had joked that they could get Harrison Ford for that. And then, of course, in the next movie, Harrison Ford played Jack Bryan. So that's, I had always wondered how that happened, and I came across that online. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I thought that was an interesting point. W5BLT.
Thank you, Bill. Next up is the other Bill, N5BB. Bill, your thoughts on anything you want to talk about, special effects, music, anything. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
This is N5BB. I think I pretty much mentioned all I wanted to say about those kind of topics. I will say that I think this movie, which is about 32 years old, I think it holds up very well. I think the whole thing, just holds up pretty well. And, another very interesting thing, which I'm sure is accidental, is, the Soviet political attaché, the political operative that Sean Connery kills, his name was Putin. So, kind of interesting when you think relative to, current geopolitics. N5BB.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Next up is Miss Brenda, WB5OZL. Your thoughts on anything you want to say about this film from KE5ICX.
This is WB5OZL. Don't know if anybody's mentioned the music, but it was really good. It added to the story a lot. And I saw a picture of the set, the mock-up of the submarine. It was really cool. It's got to be a real challenge when you say, let's make a movie about a submarine, because you can't just, go find a submarine and move all your movie equipment in there. It's too much of a challenge. As it was, with the airplanes and the water and everything, this had to be a real challenging movie to make, and I dare say they did a great job. I love the airplanes. you know, there weren't just a whole lot of planes in this movie, but there were some, and I enjoyed that. All right, I think I'm done. WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. David, W5EBB, additional comments or other stories, by all means, go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Well, I have a Jane's story, and yeah, I remember that. I used those volumes, not for subs, but in my first job out of college working for General Dynamics, you know, now Lockheed, of course, in Fort Worth. I worked in the flight simulation lab, and we would use those volumes if we wanted to look up statistics on Soviet aircraft, turn rates, climb rates, roll rates, that kind of thing. Of course, that's unclassified data, but it's probably ballpark, you know. And the interesting thing about these submarines, the attack subs, they're designed as a primary mission is to attack other subs. Of course, they have other mission roles also, but it turns out historically, there's only been one case where a sub has actually attacked another sub, and that was at the very end of World War II, February of 1945. Royal Navy sub sank it was designated U-864 of the Kriegsmarine, the German Navy. Another good movie that was from 2018 is called Hunter Killer, that stars Gerard Butler, and it's a really good submarine movie, updated with new submarine and new movie technology. But it's more of a geopolitical kind of a movie, but it takes a lot of cues from Hunt for Red October. So if you like this movie, you'd probably like Hunter Killer from 2018. But, you know, as good as CGI is today, you can still tell most of the time it's CGI, especially when it comes to modeling something that requires physics, equations of motion, etc. But Hunt for Red October looked and felt real in part because of its use of practical effects. This was before, you know, real CGI was available. You're not looking at a fake ocean with fake waves. Those are real waves. The actors aren't standing in front of a blue or a green screen. Those are real sets. And it comes across in the movie. It has a real look and feel that's visceral, combined with the plot, acting, story, sounds, music. The movie still stands the test of time. W5EBB.
Thank you, David. I'm going to hold my comments because I agree with you 100%. Next up, KI5JCM. Thomas, your thoughts on special effects, music, you name it. Tell us what you think from KE5ICX.
Well, I'll keep my comment short because it's going to be on the little things. What I really like about this movie are just the small touches they very easily could have cut out that didn't push the plot along, but really humanized the characters. Like James Earl Jones' Admiral going, "Gee, Jack, I know I told you to speak your mind, but dang," I'll spare the curse word there. Or when Ramius is speaking and it's translated, and Alec Baldwin's character looks and goes, "The Admiral's under the impression you're some sort of a cowboy," after the buckaroo conversation. And probably my favorite line in the whole movie at the very end with the Secretary of the Navy and the Russian ambassador, when the American looks to the Russian and goes, "Ivan, Ivan, Ivan, you've lost another submarine?" Anyway, the effects on this, I'm a big fan of practical effects, even in the age of CGI. If you can merge the two, you get a vastly superior product, and I appreciate all the effort they showed. Hang on, let me reset. I think what makes this movie stand out is all the attention to detail and all the little finishing touches they added that took this from being a good to a great movie. KI5JCM, back to you, Net Control.
Thank you, Thomas. And next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, any comments you'd like to make? It's open open up for anything you want to discuss from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. I just one quick comment. Was the ambassador actually named Ivan? Because I mean, the name. What was the name of the maneuver that the Russian subs often used? The Crazy Ivan. That's an interesting detail. If that's actually true, I wonder if that was kind of a. I don't know. Who knows if that could be an inside joke or not? Well, then, within world inside joke, anyway. The only other, so there's the comments on the submarines. Well, of course, we're going to have some sort of representational view because, there's, meters and meters of water, and you can't really see down there. I don't know what the visibility a couple hundred meters down would be, but so I mean, my point being that it wouldn't matter if it was CGI or not. You're just still getting a representation. So, the one thing I really wanted to say was it was kind of interesting to hear the topics of VLF and ELF, which radio related here for very low frequency and extreme low frequency. That would be very low would be from 30 kilohertz to 3 kilohertz, and extremely low would be 3 kilohertz to 3 hertz. And the Navy had transmitters for both. Apparently the ELF is now decommissioned. I think the VLF is still active, but I could be wrong. But anyway, it's interesting just now that I know about these things, I can actually understand that that was actually something to. And it wasn't just like Star Trek speak, something made up. It was actually it was probably something real. So anyway, that's all I got. KG5BZW.
Thank you, Jay. And this is KE5ICX. And we're talking about the Hunt for Red October, the 1990 movie of the Cold War thriller of sorts, I guess. It was after the Cold War, but it came out in 1990. But the story was written during the Cold War, and they put us back in time on that. So does anybody else want to join us this evening before I give my spiel? Anyone else here who has not checked in who would like to for the Hunt for Red October, the movie that we watched this week? Please come with your call.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I seen the movie.
I thought you might show up. So KB9SOK, Sean, go ahead. This is kind of our final round. Well, maybe our final round, maybe not. We'll see. Tell us everything you want to about the Hunt for Red October that you saw from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Sorry for being a little late. I'm sure probably most of it's been said. It was just a very enjoyable plot. Excellent movie, excellent acting. The one thing, and maybe somebody mentioned it, I'm surprised that no one mentioned, hey, Morse code actually saved the day in this movie. Without it, how could they have communicated and found the intent? So yeah, so there is a little bit related to what we enjoy. So that was a nice tie-in, even if it is particularly a sci-fi movie. It is interesting. I remember watching this movie originally when it came out, thinking, it was a really good movie, but it reminds you just how difficult that job has to be in a sub to maneuver those things, not being able to really truly see. and just going off sonar, and the technology that's available then, it has to be quite the challenge, and it almost seemed weird. You think driving a sub not be able to see where you're going. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, the drive was fictitious, even though they are always looking at that. But I actually seen a special on the subs the other day, and they actually used to talk about how the German subs used to actually drive through giant demagnetizers to demagnetize the hull of the ships to make them less detectable. So yeah, they'll go to some pretty crazy extremes to try to keep these things invisible. Today, I imagine it's much more difficult with the technology, but very interesting. But yeah, excellent movie, excellent acting, good practical effects, I felt, for the time. It really felt, the scenes felt like you was in a sub, and then obviously there were stuff filmed, in real locations, so that definitely led to just all-around excellent movie. I won't hold things much longer repeating other stuff, so back to the net, KB9SOK.
All right, great. Thank you, Sean. And no, you didn't repeat much of anything except, everybody agreed that it was a very good film and enjoyed it quite a bit. All right, let's see here. My comments. Several things. First off, the music. I had to go look up Basil Polidorus again because I have several versions of a couple of his scores that I really enjoy. But he is known for music to the terrible movie Conan the Barbarian. But if you ever listen to that score, that thing is an excellent score. Of course, Hunt for Red October, 1990. He's done Iron Eagle, Red Dawn, Starship Troopers, RoboCop. Was an A-list composer. He's very good. He died in 2006, but he was really very, very good at what he did, and I think that helped this movie quite a bit. When you got an A-list actors, you've got a good story, you've got, and you add, and the effects make sense and look convincing, and the score just adds even more to it, and it did in this film. I thought it was great. Special effects-wise, there was some mention that it was practical models and practical sets. That's very true. There were models used. In fact, the Red October was here in Dallas for a number of years over at Las Colinas. It was hanging from the ceiling, the model that was used in the film. I don't know where it is now. It probably went to, some restaurant somewhere. But it was here in Dallas back in the 1990s, shortly after the film was done. But there were several things that were done. There were not any real digital effects, even though they wanted very badly to do them. They just didn't have the technology available. But there was some things done. One, the submarines were filmed in a fog in a warehouse, so to give it kind of that murky feel. And as the submarines went by, they had to change the lighting because you get a whiteout effect with a camera because of the lack of that object in front of it. So they literally had to dim it. They did it in slow motion to create that effect. They did use computers, but the computers were used to create like plankton or and rotor wash and things like that in the water. That's what it was used for. So you can, in this case, you had a little bit of both, but you had a lot in the way of models. In the practical sets, yep, that whole thing swiveled around. When they dove into the water, the thing would drop, 60 degrees down or whatever it was in order to make that happen. When it would bank to the left or right, the whole set banked to the left or right. And so the actors were actually leaning into that shift in gravity, so that made it also convincing. And I'm sure it made it very convincing to the actors. In fact, they said that that was one of the things that Alec Baldwin did. He said that he did not go into the thing to rehearse. He did it in real time when they were actually doing the lines. Since he wasn't supposed to be a submariner anyway, it should have been a surprise to him. So it's sort of a little bit of method acting there, I guess. So the movie itself, as you know, it won for Best Sound Effects Editing. in 1991 for the 63rd Academy Awards. Technical, it was up for Best Sound and Best Film Editing. I'll give it that. That was another thing about the editing. If you ever watched the scenes, there was always a question posed by the actor at the very end of each scene before it would shift to another part of the film. It left you thinking, but not for very long. So I thought that was kind of cool. Production design and Best Sound for the British Academy Awards up was nominated. It did win for Best Film Score, believe it or not, for BMI. And again, Best Motion Picture Sound Editors Award. So I guess sound was the thing, which also made it very convincing. All right, that's it from me. Does anyone have anything else they want to add before I tell you next week's movie? Anyone at all? Come with your call.
W5EBB.
All right, David, W5EBB, you have the final word. Go ahead.
Just a follow-up to the Academy Awards, the movie that did win for Best Editing in that year was Dances with Wolves, with a runtime of 3 hours and 1 minute. That's a head-scratcher. W5EBB.
Oh, man, you couldn't have said it better. I love it. All right. That's excellent. You went too fast. I got to figure out what the movie is. Hold on. I'll get you the information. Give me about 20 seconds here, and I'll tell you next week's movie. This is KE5ICX. Brenda says that you should ask me. I'm accused of picking these movies every week. Well, we know she didn't pick this one because it was good. So, next week's movie, hopefully, now remember that this is going into a new year, and I don't know what happens in the new year with movies that are streamed with ads. They come and they go. The proposed movie for January 1st is Pitch Black from 2000. So hopefully it will still be on the air then. I'll see if I can find out more details about it. But Pitch Black from 2000 will be next week's movie. And if you want to, if you're listening and you want to know what the movies are going ahead, you can go ahead and send an email to me at my call sign, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray at yahoo.com. Or you can join the Afterglow movie, that's 2 words, Afterglow and movie on the Facebook page. And you'll find the information there as well as synopses for the movie. There's also in the file sections there a list of movies, proposed films that we'll watch, or even some that we have that I just haven't cleared out. And then the following 2 weeks. So you'll get heads up almost 3 weeks in advance on any of the movies, provided, of course, they're still on streaming when we get to them 3 weeks later. Sometimes they're not. They have to make a change. So that's it. I want to thank everybody for tonight. This was a lot of fun. It's always great when you get a really good movie to talk about because we get to criticize the bad ones so much. It's hard to critique a really good film except in very, very positive ways, which is okay too. We'll see you next week. This is KE5ICX Clear 73. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you next year.